Welcome to the Falcons Bird Bath by Point Game Official. I'm your host, Simo the C. Mitchell. You can find full episodes on YouTube at Point Game Official and Facebook at Point Game. And please hit that like and subscribe button if you like the content we're dropping over. Before I start to agitate you guys about Matt Ryan, let's get a little bit more into the Falcons roster. It's been a long offseason. We do know we actually have mandatory minicamp starting up. And there's a report out saying that Kirk Cousins is in attendance. And of course, I mean, he's a consummate professional, and I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be a headache. And honestly, I believe as the season goes on, we're probably going to see Kirk Cousins shipped away if we can actually get something good for him. Just in terms of actual draft picks or collateral, or even if we can get a team to, take on a good deal of that contract. I believe that if teams get a little bit more desperate and as quarterbacks start to become injured or teams start to see that the quarterback that they did sign or have is not the key to the problem that they have this year, I believe it's definitely reasonable to see them trade for Kirk Cousins. One thing we do know for certain is that we're probably going to have a pretty good special teams unit. All this depth allows us to have key guys on our special teams unit. When I talk about us actually signing Fuller in our last video, undoubtedly safeties are some of your most key components of your special team units. And your cornerbacks as well, too. People love the free agent signing of Kobe Bryant. He's a guy that I believe is definitely going to probably make the team this year. And special teams is where he's going to play at a lot. And another key signing that we had this year, Jamal Agnew, is someone that I feel can really contribute to our special teams. He adds another layer of depth to our return game. One of the veteran players, and I'm the most excited about this year, is actually AJ Terrell. He talks about leadership and embracing that. He's got a lot of dog in him. And what people mean by having dog in him is confronting things head on, rising to the pressure, being not only tough and tenacious, but being a guy who's not gonna quit, a guy who's gonna keep going to the end, and a guy who's gonna lead by example.
You gotta want the mindset for that, knowing what's at stake. It's our job as the leaders, myself and Jake, Jesse, Caden, Mike, Drake, Bijan. Even though we all young, we know what we want. It's all right there.
Leadership isn't a very vocal thing. That's a common thing that I've seen on our team. We don't have a team of guys who like all the rah-rah. I mean, it's good to have all that vocal, but being a guy who's going to go out there and just go get the job done and be accountable. AJ Terrell is a guy who feels like he still has a lot to prove.
When Brick talked to you, how much did he verbalize that he wants you to be a leader on this defense?
He didn't have to verbalize it. They all know what I bring to the table, but for myself, I'm competing with myself. It's a lot left out there on tape for me to improve on and make plays. That's the main thing.
And he wants to be the best. You want guys that are competitors like that. I think that him being out there and having that type of energy is going to be able to replace, losing a Grady Jarrett. As far as having that leadership, he's not a guy that's only vocal, but he knows he needs to go out there and play and rise his level of play and do all the just intangibles. I just love the fire that our defense is actually going to have this year. And when you listen to AJ Terrell, he talks a lot more about the mastery and learning our defense a lot more. The coaches, giving them a lot more leeway to just play within the system.
I love what Brick is bringing to the team, just playing fast right now. Everybody's in unison. I know what the D-line doing, the D-line know what we doing, know what the backers doing. Everybody is all, tight-knit in the system, and it's player-led. Them allowing us to have trust in the system is OTAs, so they already giving us the keys to the defense as far as what we see breaking on and trusting our opinions. We able to have true dialogue with the staff, with the defensive staff.
People are present in OTAs. Getting that chemistry together is a thing that fans don't probably think about, but knowing what your other teammates' tendencies are, how they communicate, knowing how they're going to move and what their alignments are, and understanding what their game speed is and how they can close on the ball.
Knowing someone else's assignment and I don't have nothing to do with it as far as I don't have to do what they have to do, but I know what they're doing that can affect me. And the back end is huge. Trying to master the base right now, everything that we're doing, not moving too fast, no matter what scenario or situation is in the game. I think that's the core of everything right now.
I believe that a huge issue we had last year was a lot of confusion and not being able to just be in the same page. And I feel like having somebody out there like a Jesse Bates and having another guy like Xavier or even Billy Bowman, who are critical thinkers and students of the game and are going to be in position of where they need to be at, allows other players to be able to roam sometimes, or allows players to be able to be in position and be able to play within the defense a lot better. When you keep the defense simple, it allows you to be able to put a little bit more flavor into how you actually execute the defense. Last video, I talked about Jamws Harrison and how he had the most memorable play on defense in the Super Bowl. That's when he dropped back into coverage and intercepted Kurt Warner and ran it back for a 99-yard touchdown. And on that play specifically, he was actually supposed to blitz. He wasn't supposed to be in coverage. But he took liberties to actually drop back into coverage, and he picked them off once he knew his tendencies. Studying game tape and being able to play within the defense allows you to do those type of things. Understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, and what the rules of that defense don't allow you to do. Because they talk about people being system guys. The Falcons last year were actually pretty good with pressures, but we were terrible with missed tackles. We actually had guys that were causing pressure, but we didn't have playmakers that could convert to strip sacks, fumbles, and just getting the quarterback on the ground. I remember watching a lot of games, had other guys that would be missing tackles on the edge out there. We have more dynamic guys that can do more. Right now, we do have a few guys that are difference makers that can play in any system and that are better tacklers this year. And I believe that that's what Jalon Walker and Jamws Pearce Jr. can actually be for us. We've heard several players actually talk about the maturity of a lot of our draft picks. Specifically, AJ Terrell talks about Jamws Pearce Jr. And Leonard Floyd talks about the maturity of him and Jalon Walker as well, too.
They very intelligent from coming from college to lead. They got a great sense of ball. Ask all the right questions to our coach. They make way more mature than I thought.
And that's going to be huge when we have guys out there that actually be able to start and play early.
Speaking of Jalon and Pearce, they're very explosive. They come off the ball crazy. I've never seen anything like them. I'm excited to see them.
Leonard Floyd is definitely welcoming of having that rotation.
I loved it, man. The more the merrier. I'm a guy I believe in rotation. I believe in coaches sending guys in, fresh legs, and getting out the quarterback.
And in order for us to have a rotation, you got to have all the players that can do different things and allow you to do different packages. I believe that it's really good that we have Leonard Floyd out there this year, because he's going to allow Jamws Pearce Jr. to really come along a lot better as a pro player, because he could focus on just being a pass rusher early on in his career and not necessarily have to focus on the run quite as much, because you have Leonard Floyd being able to play the run and be able to be a pass rusher out there on early downs. And I believe that when they say they want to let Jalon Walker master the edge, that's really what they mean. After being an edge defender on a true 3-down basis in the NFL, you have to be able to play the run regardless on any given point in time. And sometimes you're going to be outmatched and undersized, but you have to be able to react very early and be able to see tendencies on defense and be able to play the pass. I believe that having Leonard Floyd and Jalon Walker out there on early downs will allow us to definitely be able to play the run or the pass if we're in our base personnel. And as AJ Terrell said, we want to be able to play our base regardless of what happens in any given circumstance. But when it comes to 4th and 3rd downs, we want to be able to rush the passer. And as Jeff Ulbrich said before, he spends about 60% of his time actually focusing on the pass. It's a passing league. A quick dink and dunk, get the ball out of your hands league for quarterbacks these days. You have all these guys with a lot of speed, and you want to be able to affect the quarterback and be able to play fast. Simplifying things, being able to cause confusion, and do all type of things to put the offense in bad positions. We have a defense that might be a little bit undersized, but we have a lot of speed, strength, and power. And when you have speed and you're playing 100 miles an hour, even when you make mistakes, good things happen. That's how you have guys who are always going to be around the football. Your instincts are allowed to kick in a lot more. But in these situations, you can get a lot of your athletes on the field and play different combinations and get the best players on the field. If Jamws Pearce Jr. isn't starting, I believe he's going to play significant starter-style minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does open the season starting, but if he's not, by about week 5 or 6, he could probably definitely be a starter. And I believe that in the event that we have some guys go down, he's a guy that can really step up and be that next one in line. 2 other players we've actually heard coaches and players talk about are Xavier and Billy Bowman. These are guys who definitely love football, according to what they say.
Guys who are extremely versatile in coverage. Xavier is a really unique safety with his ball skills, with his versatility. We're talking about a guy who loves football. He's got the right DNA. And Billy Bowman, I had the privilege of doing a private workout with him, and it didn't take me but 5 minutes to recognize this guy loves football. I was getting ready to head to dinner. He wanted to keep grinding on tape. And then when we went to dinner, he kept talking about football. And then the next morning, there was no small talk. It was keep going on football. And when we got on the grass out in the walkthrough, I could see why this guy is unanimously loved by everybody he's connected with.
Billy Bowman is a guy that's a stud who loves football. Even if he is our starting nickelback, he's a guy that's going to contribute immensely on our special team units, I believe. From the way that Rutenberg talks about him, you could definitely tell that Bowman is going to be our starting nickelback.
Can match on a slot. He has really good short area quickness, and when you're matched on the slot, no matter the scheme, but especially for what we do, It requires unique skill sets, short area quickness, long speed. On top of that, it requires you to trigger in the run game. It's kind of like a baby backer.
It's very possible that we have 3, maybe 4 starters on this defense by the end of the season. I'm thinking back to that draft we had with Devondre Campbell, Deion Jones, and Keanu Neal. I believe we got some really good contributors out here. We definitely have guys who want to impart their knowledge and wisdom. They want to make sure that this team is better from top to bottom.
There's a lot of young guys that's opening it up and talking more. I'm trying to get my boy 9'6" to be a beast in the paint. So that's the guy I've been keying in on the most, 96. Trying to get him to let some of that leader.
In the last video, I mentioned having Ruka Roro and Onyemata out there on third downs in our pass rushing packages, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Harrison was actually a guy that stepped it up. He's a name that we've heard a lot from coaches, and we're hearing from veterans now just speaking how much they want to see him just really break out, and I believe he has it in him. He's a guy that's 6'5", 275 pounds, and he's actually pretty nimble for a guy at that size as well, too. He can actually wreak a lot of havoc pretty strong, and it's not a whole lot of highlights for him last year, but he's responsible for a blocked field goal, a blocked punt. He's had some plays toward the middle and the end of the season where I thought it was Grady Jarrett out there, and it was actually him. Or when Grady Jarrett was subbed out, there was no drop-off. He was actually as good as him and actually playing better and more athletic and able to do some more things. He's a guy that I believe could definitely wreak havoc. And he's going into his 3rd year. I like that a lot of these guys that we're expecting to step up are actually still young. We have guys that we drafted when they were 20, 21 years old, and they're like 23 years old, and we're looking for them to actually have breakout years this year. After hearing Leonard Floyd talk about, I believe he's a guy that could be that next breakout player. And we actually really need for him to be able to do so because we need to be able to replace David Onyemata next year. He's a guy that's getting a little long in the tooth. No disrespect to a G, but just keeping it real. You know, you can't be paying these guys as they get older, and you draft these guys. The reason that you have these draft picks is so that you can re-sign them. You need to be able to build through the draft, and it's really good when the guys that you draft pan out and they can replace guys that you have. I believe it has a lot of versatility to do different things for us on different packages and can be huge for us. They talked a lot about wanting to be able to get him out there on the edge against tight ends and so on and so forth. And I believe that he's a guy that can actually play a lot more minutes for us in more versatile situations than anybody he had. He might be the biggest key to us replacing Grady Jarrett moving forward. I mean, I don't want to think too high, but these vets know what they're seeing when they're out here with these players. And it's nothing like having the confidence and having that mentorship of another great player who's still got something in the tank to offer you, but can give you a little bit of wisdom too. You want to build and fight for that guy next to you. Recently, there was a list of GOATs of each and every NFL team. And Matt Ryan made the GOAT list for the Falcons. Now, arguably, it could be Julio Jones. A lot of fans would say that. And some fans would absurdly say Michael Vick. But I believe it's Matt Ryan, although I kind of back and forth about saying whether it's Julio Jones or not. Julio is definitely the most talented player who came close to his potential and played the most years and most accomplished as a Falcon player. While I don't think we would have ever had back-to-back seasons or multiple opportunities to go to a Super Bowl until we had Matt Ryan. But during my conversation of asking if Julio Jones or Antonio Brown was the better receiver, when I said Julio Jones, I saw a fan in the comments say that Antonio Brown had the better quarterback. Big Ben, who didn't make the GOAT list for the Steelers, he's saying was a better quarterback than Matt Ryan, and I definitely disagree. I think if you take Ben Roethlisberger and you put him on the Falcons, you take Matt Ryan and put him on the Steelers probably win more than one Super Bowl. Whereas if you put Big Ben on the Falcons, I don't think that we even go to a Super Bowl. Big Ben is one of those quarterbacks who had a lot of comebacks, but he had comebacks from blown opportunities and interceptions and turnovers and bad mistakes that he caused himself with bad gameplay. But he just had one of the best defenses in the NFL to actually give him the ball back and give him a lot more opportunities to actually score and redeem himself. Matt Ryan very rarely played with a top 10 defense, whereas that was kind of the norm for Ben Roethlisberger. And Ben Roethlisberger was given a lot of good receivers at different points of his career. Plaxico Burress, Santonio Holmes, Antonio Brown. And I can't forget Hines Ward, Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Wallace, as well as Heath Miller were all pretty good receivers for Big Ben. Matt Ryan didn't have as sure-handed guys as that all the time. Of course, he had Roddy White and he had Julio Jones, but after that, who are we looking at? Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley? He's kind of stitching it together a lot of his career. Now, he definitely had Tony Gonzalez, but I just think that consistently, Big Ben had a lot more consistent receiving threats and had some pretty good running backs as well, too. He had Jerome Bettis, Fast Willie Parker, Mendenhall, Le'Veon Bell. I mean, Ben had some really good teams around him. He just made a lot of boneheaded decisions on the field and off the field. Remember that time when he got into that bike accident, gave himself a severe head trauma and almost missed the season? Matt Ryan never do something stupid like that. People talk a lot of crap about Matt Ryan and some of his chokes, but Big Ben choked a whole lot in his career. He has happened to win 2 Super Bowls with some of the best defenses ever. And I definitely don't want to be disrespectful to another NFL great and legend, but if you look at the tape and you look at the numbers, I ain't lying. Big Ben definitely was bailed out by his defense a lot, and it's a total team sport, so your defense should be able to bail you out. But he was definitely fortunate to play with a lot of talent around him on the offensive side and the defensive side, and he actually had some pretty good coordinators. Bruce Arians was there for one of his Super Bowls. He also won one with Ken Wisenhunt as his offensive coordinator as well. Although Bruce Arians was definitely a great head coach, Ken Wisenhunt wasn't necessarily a good head coach, but both of those guys were phenomenal offensive coordinators. And that's our show for today. Got our playlist in the description for all of our off-season moves that have happened so far. And stay tuned. I'm gonna hit you in a couple days after we've gotten a little bit more into the mandatory minicamp. I don't want to have any overreactions on the very first day, you know what I'm saying? But I'm really liking what the Falcons have been putting together. And I don't think this is your mama and daddy's Falcons. Point Game Official, C-Mo to C Mitchell. Checking out, baby.